Yo, what up guys, Travic here, and today I want to talk about Heartseeker Rogue. Now, I am a huge ARPG enjoyer, and when Last Epoch Season 2 was dropping, I was all about it. I was just in. As somebody who's grown up playing Diablo 2, seeing Guided Arrow be brought back to life in a new, unique fashion had me sign up right away. Now, Heartseeker Rogue is a fun and an absolute wonderful class to play. It does have its pros and cons, and today we're going to be talking about how I built my character, what steps I followed, what was good, what was bad, and things that might give you a little insight on if you're choosing to play Heartseeker Rogue. Now, this footage is recorded roughly at the end of day 2 of the season reset, early day 3. I have pretty good gear as I'm playing Merchant's Guild, and Heartseeker Rogue was able to just completely go through corruptions. Right now we're in corruption 308, we've killed Abberoth, and it goes pretty smooth. Your corruptions and your zones and your monoliths and your echoes, they don't take very long if you play tight. You know, this character is not going to be something like a sentinel where you can just hold right click and just walk forward and nothing dies. You do have a very active playstyle, so if you're looking for something a little bit more active, this is definitely the class or skill for you. Now, I decided to play and test out WASD, and if the Last Epoch devs are watching, I love it. It is absolutely fantastic. It has a little stutter step to it, which is really, it feels really smooth with the firing the bow. I know in other games you have WASD where it's a continuous chain of firing, but I really like that stutter step feel. I actually feel like I have way more control over my character with WASD than I did with like point and click. I know that sounds weird, but you can see my character is doing this beautiful shoot step, shoot step, shoot step, shoot step, and it made Heartseeker feel fantastic. There was a lot of times, like right here, you can see I'm just holding back and holding forward, and he just fires and steps it. It is the absolute perfect way to play Heartseeker Rogue. I know somebody who's played ARPGs my entire life. Getting out of that point to click movements to WASD was a game changer, and I really, really recommend it. It will make your experience with this a lot easier. Now, Heartseeker Rogue can be played a couple of ways. You can play it as a fire base, you can play it as a cold base, and you can play it as a dot base. So what you're watching here today is the poison bleed variant. Now, I didn't build this from scratch. I took a lot of inspiration from a guy on YouTube named Trikster. I'm going to include all this information down below. And he was a really big help for me, like, you know, watching some of his videos and seeing where to go, and gave me a real good direction with the character. Now, pushing through, you know, echoes was not a problem. As you know, the whole campaign was easy. Early monoliths was easy. The first real hurdle that I got to was in Corruption 100. You know, early monoliths, they were cakewalk. You just did early monoliths, you blew up everything, nothing stood a chance, and you were like, XDD, this is the easiest thing in the world. And as soon as you got to like Corruption 100, there was just a wall, an absolute monster of a wall standing in front of you, and there wasn't just a whole lot you can do, and you really desperately had to get gear to start progressing. So I really recommend if you decide to play this character, make sure that you get gear. It will not feel good until you get gear, and it is extremely gear dependent. You can see that, like, in this clip, I can take hits. I could take a couple of hits and be okay. You'll see later on, there'll be an Abberoth clip, and I can take hits in Abberoth and be okay. You can still absolutely get one-shotted, but you definitely want to make gear. Now, our mapping experience is smooth. It is easy. It is great and wonderful. There is absolutely nothing to worry about. And even going into bosses now, bosses are a lot easier. I'm going to show you a 207 corruption. I'm going to show you a 308 corruption, and you'll see the difference right away in boss damage and how it goes and how it works. And then at the end of this, there'll be the Abberoth clip. Abberoth takes about 4 minutes, so I figure instead of yapping the entire time, you guys can sit down and have a beautiful showcase. Now, bosses is your bread and butter. You will cut down bosses like nobody's business. Now, my gear has upgraded a lot from here to the next one to Abberoth, so keep in mind you're going to be seeing what it looks like with gear progression. You see right away we are able to almost cap our bleeds and poisons here. And as I was able to get more gear, capping out bleeds and poisons was just super simple. This boss absolutely stood no chance at all. We killed him extremely easy. We weren't even crit resistant at this stage, and at this stage in the league, and everything just falls right over. With bosses and with mapping, a couple of things that you want to note. First and foremost, silver shrouds will be your best friends. You will absolutely want to be using your smoke screen all of the time. Without smoke screen, you will just kind of maybe flop over if you get hit. Having silver shrouds is an absolutely amazing defensive layer. And if you spam your skills too much, like your smoke shrouds and your decoy totems, you'll see that you might have mana issues, but your mana recovers very nicely. So you really shouldn't have too many of problems, or too big of a problem, I should say. Even with the ward phases on some of these guys, you're able to just completely cut through them, no problem at all. You see, I'm easily back at 999 stacks of bleed, and just stacking it up is super easy. Now going into this one, this was corruption 225. Yeah, I can see it on the screen right now. This was corruption 225. And you see, even here, we're just able to blow up everything, no problem at all. Just completely easy. This guy just falls right over, and there's no issues at all. Our damage is completely and utterly cracked. Now, I would swap over to my character, but I'm sure you guys want to finish watching the rest of this and make sure that I actually kill this thing. You can see I was actually going into downtime, trying to race the clock to kill this thing before the downtime actually happened. Now, I love Heartseeker Rogue. I managed to do everything that I wanted to do on it. I feel very accomplished with this character, and I'm not sure if I'm going to push it past where I am right now, but we'll go over everything that I've done, where I'm at, and just kind of how it looks. And you see, we were able to take a hit there and just not completely fall over. Heartseeker just has, it just does everything. It does everything that you want it to do. It's great. It's wonderful. So, all right, let's cut out of this. Let's close this out, and let's go into the game and talk about what we did and how we did it. Now, I had mentioned this earlier, and I'm going to mention this again. For leveling and everything that's going on, I did indeed follow this gentleman on YouTube. Trikster provided an absolutely fantastic, wonderful marksman leveling guide. This video was great in terms of how I leveled. I will include this down below for you guys. It was fantastic. And then I watched this video a couple days ago to give me direction on how I wanted to play the bleed and dot Heartseeker. And it was just, it really gave good direction. Like it provided you what you needed. I used his loot filter. It was great. It was wonderful. So big shout out to Trikster. Thank you so much for all of this. It was an absolutely fantastic experience. Now, my gear, when I killed Abberoth and I did everything, now my inventory is a mess. I know, I'm sorry. I killed Abberoth. I recorded it and I just closed up, but here we're at. My gear is pretty good. We have about 80% movement speed. We've got some mana. We got life. We're capped resistances across the board. We have a little bit of dodge. And we have right here 710 bleed damage. Our bleed duration is 108 seconds. We have 391 poison damage. And we pretty much just cap our bleeds and poisons very fast without any issues at all. Pretty much the character just completely shreds. Now, if I hide my face for a second, you'll see we even have armor shred at 320%. And that is just a huge part of everything that we're doing. We did indeed start stacking some stats. We have about 50 dexterity right now. We were a little bit higher. We were a little bit less. We've been bouncing all around, but this is where we ended up with our gear. We did clear Act 9 to get that extra 1 point of dex, and I really recommend you do it. Now, our gear in itself, we are using a helmet with dexterity, more dexterity. There's definitely better options for the helmet. This is just kind of what was available to me at the time. If I were to like change gear before I did this, I would probably get a base with more damage over time. I don't need the armor, the bone reductions to armor. I'm currently capped with woven flesh, but my helmet pretty much is just health and a ton of dexterity. Nothing too fancy on the helmet. My amulet, same thing, a bunch of resistances, some poison damage, some void resistance, some physical resistance, and a little bit of health. My critical strike chance doesn't really do a whole lot. I would like a different stat here. Probably some, damage over time would be much nicer. My bow, I did personally drop this Gathering Fury with 3 LP. I did it using the whole imprint system with the new Woven Tree passive stuff, and it was absolutely great. I'm going to do a whole video on the Atlas Tree coming out shortly, or the Woven Tree coming out shortly, but I did manage to drop this Gathering Fury with 3 LP. I slammed on just damage over time, attack speed, and armor shred chance. And this bow just completely and utterly wrecks everything. At first, when I was told about this bow and I saw Trikster was using it, I didn't understand why we were using this bow. It didn't make a whole lot of sense. And then I started reading the abilities on the bow, and it made perfect sense. This bow, you start pretty much firing relatively slow, but as you start hitting the mob and doing things, you just completely and utterly erupt with speed. Before you know it, your speed is off the charts, and you just have insane attack speed. So really, really recommend this bow when you have LP and when you're able to start blasting. If you're looking for another solution to a bow beforehand and you want to play the dot variant, I do have an old bow. You can actually see the old bow was jammed onto this. But if I go back to my stash over here in my inventory, I can show you my old bows were pretty simple. They were just damage over time, bleed chance, shred chance, and attack speed. I did play with this bow for a little bit with bleed chance, damage over time, and attack speed. So you have options for your bow. You just have to really kind of like look into it. I also tried a bunch of different bows. I tried gel cores at one time. I tried this one with damage over time and bow speed. I had Rain of Winter. I tried all kinds of different bows and everything like that. To pair our bow, we have our quiver. Eventually, I got a Sanguine Horde. I got this at 3 LP. I believe I bought this on the marketplace. It was like 20,000 gold. Somebody listed it for. Somebody listed it for 20,000 gold. I managed to get it super cheap. And I was just like, all right. So I bought it. I slammed it. And the first time I actually did it, it missed. It hit bleed chance, shred, and bow attack speed. I went back to the Merchants Guild, checked again. There was another 3 socket one. I picked that one up. This one slammed bow speed, damage over time, and armor shred. So I was thrilled out of my mind. If you don't have access to the 3 LP quiver, I actually played a long time with this quiver. This quiver has bleed on hit, bow damage, physical damage, slow, and bleed. It was not the best quiver, but it got me through everything. Eventually, before I made this quiver, I picked up a quiver like this that had bow attack speed, damage over time, shred, and chill. And you know, you have options. You have plenty of options in the, you know, in the quiver. You really want that bow attack speed. That damage over time is a nice multiplier for your damage, and a little bit of blind, a little bit of shred on hit really help, you know, bring everything together to give you other layers of both damage and defense. Now for a chest plate, I didn't really know what to do. I wasn't crit capped. I was walking into the Abberoth fight. I didn't know what to do, and my buddy Bearded was just like, hey man, why don't we just go buy Woven Flesh? You know how Path of Exile players are. Everybody forgets everything the next league. So maybe players forgot how good this body armor was, and you could pick up a cheap one. So that's what I did. I went over to go look at Merchants Guild, and there was a super cheap one for like 75,000 gold. I picked it right up. It had 3 LP on it. I decided to go this way. This run gives me 100% crit avoidance, and then I stacked health on Heartseeker. And this was my chest plate. And it was great. It gave me a ton of life, ton of avoidance, made me super tanky. And it just made everything great. It was fantastic. It was a really good decision. Plus levels of Heartseeker, really important. If you were to go in with a 1 LP, I would definitely go with plus Seeker, plus the Heartseeker. Very strong, very good. Really recommend. As far as our belt goes, we have Thorn Slinger. This gives us, you know, bleed chance on hit, movement speed. We get fizz skills, which all of our stuff is fizz. And we slammed on extra health. Health was very important for this character. My rings could be better. They are dex damage over time, a little bit of resistance. I could have had this on a better base, but a better base than it exists at the time. But just basically damage over time, a little bit of dexterity and resistances to fill wherever your problems are. And this ring, once again, could have been better. Could have been dex, has elemental damage over time, which does nothing. But we have base damage over time, all elemental resistances, and a little bit of health. Once again, my rings are terrible. My rings definitely need to be replaced. My amulet's terrible. My helmet's terrible. All of it could be replaced. Our gloves, we're using Salt the Wounds with 1 LP. I slammed on 90 health, 6% increased health. Absolutely beautiful pair of gloves. Very strong pair of gloves. They really want you to have crit multi everywhere. I should actually probably have put crit multi somewhere on the bow. I don't know what mod I would have replaced. I don't know. I like the damage over time mod a lot. But you definitely want crit multi everywhere. Our boots are Blood of the Exile. Really hard to beat Blood of the Exile. They give you bleed duration, ailment damage to moving targets, stats, movement speed, tons and tons of movement speed, and just overall very good boots. And we have Valdir's Chalice for our relic. This one was actually really cool. This gives you a chance to bleed on hit, and damage over time leashes life. The damage over time leashes life is like really important. It's a really good mod to have, and you want some of it somewhere. I have it both here and on the Sanguine Horde, and it's what you saw in the video, that you take a hit and your health just goes and you get all of your health back. It's really good. I did slam on Critical Strike Multiplier here. I would like to pick up a 2 or 3 LP one of these. I didn't really look to see if a 2 or 3 LP one existed. I just had a 1 LP one, and I slammed it on, and we just kind of kept cruising. Overall, for idols, I didn't really know where to go too much with idols. I dropped this early in Monolith Experience. This one gave me recurve chance with Heartseeker, increased bow damage. I'm pretty sure I would do more damage if I dropped this and got like a bunch of these small ones that increase damage over time, but I was using this. I really liked it. I had it for a long time, and it was a really cool idol, so I kept playing around with it. My other large idol did the exact same thing. I dropped it. It was chance with Heartseeker, increased bow damage, increased bow damage. These are a lot of slots for this idol to take up, and I probably could have gotten way more damage if I did this. You can see my bleed damage is 710, and if I take this off, it goes to 697, and if I take this off, I go to 655. So there's a world where, like, you do the math on this idol and see if, you know, what is this? 13 points for this is better than 45 plus 15, right? You know, like, you just have to do the math and see which one's better. This is what, 15, 30, 40. Yeah, it probably would have been better to put a whole bunch of these than to use this instead, but recurve chance with Heartseeker is insane. My medium idol here was critical strike multiplier, a little bit of resistance. My little one here, like I just talked about, was damage over time. I had this, which doesn't do anything, which could be replaced by these. This one doesn't do anything. This one replaced by this. This one doesn't. This one has a little bit of damage over time. This one's like, okay, this could also be replaced by this one. This is damage over time, physical resistance, which is really nice. This is Fire Pen, which doesn't do anything at all, is completely and utterly useless. This one was fire resistance, which gives me 1% fire resistance, which I'm pretty okay with. My point of the matter is my idols suck, my rings suck, my amulet sucks, my helmet sucks, and I pushed into 300 corruption because I'm just carried off the back of Heartseeker being what Heartseeker does, and like good gear in other places. But there's a lot of room to improve. I'm talking about what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 slots that I can pick up more damage in, and every slot is giving me 15% damage. So 15. So you're looking at like another 100, 100 plus bleed damage that you could pick up super easily, which is absolutely wild. Now, as far as our skills go and what's going on there, we're playing a combination of things. First and foremost, the big takeaway and the big bread and butter of what we're playing is we're playing Heartseeker. Heartseeker is that beautiful skill that you've seen me in the video that I could shoot. I can't actually shoot in here, so we'll go into the Model of the Faith really quick, and we'll shoot a couple times, and we'll give you a rundown of what Heartseeker is exactly doing so you know how it works and what's going on. Heartseeker, from my understanding, is it uses an ability called recurve. So every time this arrow flies back and forth like this, it recurves. It can only target one mob at a time, and while it's bouncing back and forth, it only hits that one mob. So it finds a mob, hits a mob, goes through a mob, goes through a mob, goes through a mob, goes through a mob, and that's what it does. So you're able to just fire as many shots as you can. So if I fire as many arrows as I can, you can see they'll all sit and recurve. If I take one target and I fire at it, I can actually stack up just a whole lot of recurves. What's really cool and what's really unique about this skill is if a monster is, say, right here at the waypoint and I shoot at it, it'll target the waypoint. If I'm here and the monster was my target, this arrow will fly behind me or through me to hit this target. If I go up here and I come over here, it will still hit this target. Heartseeker will chase down your target no matter where it is. I was even able to target mobs on the other side of walls, and Heartseeker would go around to hit the mob. It will find your target and it will kill your target, and it is great. Now, Heartseeker scales off a couple of things. It scales off of physical damage, bow attack damage, and dexterity. So you can actually see that right here. And if you press Alt, you can see exactly how it scales and everything you need to know about it. The first thing I did was I scaled it to have straight through. So as soon as I was level 35, I put Heartseeker on, right? Like I put Heartseeker on immediately. And the first thing I did was I went to straight through. Pretty much what happens is Heartseeker will recurve in and out of an enemy. So if you shoot one time and have 10 bounces in and out of an enemy, and that enemy dies and 9 bounces are left, hypothetically, like you shoot in one shot and you have 9 bounces left, Heartseeker will explode and shoot punctures for the 9 remaining shots. So this was a great tool for clear. This is like your main and primary clear. So the first thing I did was path straight to this. I put 2 points here, 1 point here, and then 1 point straight away. We put 2 points in the Bloodseeker because it gives you 1% leech and 10% recurve. The 1% leech is really important. It stacks really nicely with your other leech. And we put 1 point into exposed because we get armor shred chance that we want to get to straight through. Now in the campaign, like I mentioned, you go straight through, and from there you come up to Arrow Mastery and you come up to Shatter Weaver's Grasp. Arrow Mastery gives you recurve chance, which is the more recurve chance, the more times the arrow bounces in and out of the enemy. And Shadows Weaver says the minimum recurve chance is 66%. So what happens is when I fire an arrow with Heartseeker, every time it recurves, the chance to recurve goes down. I think it's by 0.8%, if I remember correctly. So if you have 200%, then you take 200% recurve, times it by 0.8, and that gives you a new number, and then you times that by 0.8. And eventually it just gets down to a 0% chance to recurve. So with Shadow Weaver's Grasp, you have a minimum recurve chance of 66%. So it just kind of recurves forever. So we go straight through our Arrow Mastery recurve. Now from there, because we are playing dot base and we're early in the campaign, we just want to scale our damage a little bit. So I went to Swift and Sure for a little bit of mana efficiency and arrow, and then right into Heart Render because I was bleed primarily in the campaign, and then the Red Veil and Seeping Wounds. Heart Render gives us bleed chance with Heartseeker, and you saw in the video, you were able to stack your bleeds up infinitely, very, very, very fast. Red Veil gives you Crimson Shroud for more damage, and Seeping Wounds just more damage over time. As I got more gear and as I progressed and I changed things up, I picked up two very important nodes on Heartseeker. First and foremost, I picked up the ability to have Armor Shred chance from all sources to be converted to poison. And I picked up the Blight Shot to give us poison chance and poison duration. And then I grabbed Nimble Threads for more recurve per dex. The reason why we want to do this is because if I go into the game guide and I look at armor, it says armor mitigation. Armor mitigates the damage you take from all hits, but has no effect against damage over time. So shredding armor on an enemy does nothing because we are dot based and their armor is irrelevant. So we take the armor shred to poison chance because it doesn't do anything unless we have poison. So we are able to get a bunch of armor shred everywhere, and that gives us just more chance to poison. Cool. It was really cool tech that I saw from Trikster, and I totally took it. So it was really good. Now, because we're playing Heartseeker and we pair it with Puncture, we should level our Puncture. Now, with Puncture, we have a couple of ways to do this. You can go down this route like I did to get Perforate for bleed, press the attack for frenzy, toxic delivery for poison, infectious toxins for more damage over time, and sanguine obsession for bleed chance. And then the last 2 points can go into splinter, or you could pretty much come down here, you know, have timing, take splinter, go to this one for redouble for bow hit, but you're not really hit. You can come down here to get more armor shred for more poison. You can come over here for deliberation or debilitation for more damage. But I really like this setup a lot. Pretty much what happens is like our Puncture is going to be our main clear, and you want it to happen as often as possible. So you're going to have it as often as possible, and you want it to be a source to provide our dots, and our dots are all of our damage. So we really want to scale the dot damage. So when you're mapping, one of the things you need to do is while you're bouncing all around, holding your W key and you're doing your little stutter stepping, is you want to target all the smaller mobs in a pack, because the white mobs die fast. And when the white mobs die fast, they explode and shoot out these punctures. These punctures dot everything and blow up all the other mobs in the pack. So it's very, very, very important that we take advantage of that and make sure that we are able to stack our poisons on everything and our bleeds on everything, and Puncture becomes our delivery tool. Now, since we know how our damage works, let's talk about survivability and what we're doing to survive. First and foremost, we're using Shift. Shift is our fantastic way to bounce around the map. We use Shift pretty much on cooldown. It gives us movement speed, it cleanses us, it does all this wonderful, fantastic stuff. We pretty much pair it with Velocity to increase its cooldown recovery rate. We get a big movement speed buff with Momentum. We have Swift Recovery to gain a little bit of mana if we ever need it. We take Shadow Slip to give us invulnerability in case we are about to die and we're going to take a hit. We shift and we're invulnerable and we get the heck out of dodge. Elusive to give us a little bit of dodge rating. Shadow Recuperation for some minor healing that doesn't really do anything. We have Breathing Technique for healing, which doesn't do a whole lot either. Vault for more distance while we're dodging. And then we have Molten for cleansing ailments. Cleansing ailments is really important. You get ailments everywhere, and you're just able to shift out of it, cleanse it, and you'll never even notice that you're ever ailment. The last thing we're going to take is Sleight of Hand so that we can throw shurikens every time that we bounce around. The reason why we take the shuriken stuff is shurikens are really, really, really important, as, you know, they give us another layer of defense. Eventually what happens is we're going to take our shurikens and we're going to scale the amount of shurikens that we throw, and we're going to get a whole bunch of additional shurikens, and they're just going to be cast around us like this big blade shield. So you're going to see if I were to shift right now, I have these shurikens around me, and they're this awesome little blade shield that you have going on that, you know, at first doesn't seem like it does a whole lot, but it actually really does. It gives you, you know, just a little bit of extra armor for survivability. We make that blade shield last a long time. If it does manage to hit anything because we're blinking through it, it shreds their physical resistances, no problem. It gives you, you know, you have pierce chance to hit all the enemies, excuse me, and you have physical penetration on it. So our shurikens pretty much become this little shield around us that if anything does get close to us and has low enough health, it will just die. It'll eat up white mobs, no problem. And if you just happen to be back in the campaign, or you're bouncing around helping out a buddy, or you're doing things, shuriken just becomes this little way to just like hold forward and keep going. Especially if you're farming in lower tier corruption, shuriken does a really good job of just like helping to clear up the little things so you can keep on moving. Now, the last thing that we did manage to specialize was into smoke bomb. Now, smoke bomb, we have it so that we can apply slow, we increase the duration, we get some crimson shroud for more damage, we cover the area really big, we get frailty, and we're gonna get some silver shrouds. Silver shrouds are one of our biggest forms of defense. Silver shrouds allow us to just have the ability to just not die. A silver shroud allows us to take a hit and just completely dodge it and avoid it. So, you know, we drop our smoke bomb and we immediately have stacks of silver shroud and we're just like cruising. So we can take 3 hits and just completely and utterly dodge them. You honestly can't be beat. And then we have cleansing so that we can cleanse any ailments. So we're able to just like bounce around the map. We can shift all around, cleanse our ailments, smoke screen to get 3 stacks of silver shroud, and we fire our Heartseeker, and that's really your gameplay loop. You just kind of bounce around, fire Heartseeker, drop your smoke screen on cooldown so that you have some silver shroud stacks, and pretty much that's everything that you're going on. Now, the last thing you're going to notice is I do have decoy on my bar. Decoy is on my bar because every so often things get hairy, and just having an, you know, an oh crap button that you can toss and the mobs will turn around for a second is an absolutely fantastic, unbeatable experience. There's a part of me that's wanted to take out like specking into shurikens, specking into decoys, but I don't know if we really need it. I like this setup a lot. Now, I've mentioned this earlier, I'm going to mention this again. This setup is what I league started with, or season started with. So it might not be ideal, it might not be perfect, and this is not a be-all end-all build guide. This is more of me showcasing what I did and how I got there. There are probably a million ways to improve this. You see my idols are terrible, my gear is terrible, and even looking at my blessings, I'm pretty sure some of my blessing choices could be changed and fixed over the course of time. And it's just something that, you know, as we get a little bit further into season 2 and we start experimenting with more gear and start looking at different things, will become a little bit more apparent on where we can fix things and where we can tighten things up to really pull out the amount of damage. Like I mentioned, if I were to just change my idols up, I would just get like, I would be over 800 bleed damage, like hands down, eyes closed, maybe even 900, maybe even close to 1,000 bleed damage. If I were to fix my rings to give me more dex, I would have more damage. Or if I fix my amulet for damage over time, I'd have more damage. If I got a better base helmet, I have more damage. If I got a better base armor that gave me damage over time and found ways to get crit avoidance elsewhere, I'd have more damage. So there's a lot of room for improvement. I pretty much just threw together what I could over the first 2 days of the season to just kind of kill Abberoth. I never killed Abberoth. I never progressed this far in the into Last Epoch before, and I had a good time, man. I did. I had a really good time, and I really liked it a lot. It was a really good experience. Now, with that, I'm going to leave you to it. I'm going to post the clip right now in about a second of the Abberoth fight, so if you want to stick around and watch that, that'd be great. But otherwise, this is my character, this is what I've done, and if you've liked this content and you want more Last Epoch content, please let me know in the comments down below. Your interactions with the video, with like, comments, shares, and all that really show to me and the channel that it is something that you guys are interested in and that you guys want more of. So if you can, take a second to thumbs up the video and do all that fun jazz, that would mean the world to me. But for now, friends, I'm gonna get this video to you guys. Enjoy the Abberoth kill, and I'll see you all next time.
The altar of oblivion.
So you finally returned to me, and with a guest. But first, prove yourselves worthy.
Abberoth!